Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. I appreciate it. I had the chance to read Todd McFarlane's Batman Spawn #1 one-shot, and I have a few gripes about the comic. To be different, I will let you know my rating now. This comic is mid at best, so I gave it a 2. That's on a scale of 1 to 5. As a Batman fan, I wanted to like this comic, but it is a pass for me. Let me give you a few reasons why this comic did not make my recommendation. But let me start with the things I like. The art is really good. To get the easy part out of the way, Greg Capullo did an amazing job capturing the scenes and action scenes. The inker did an amazing job as well coloring the scenes. I felt like those two worked in a really great dynamic to help further along the comic. What I did like mostly was the end. Or rather, the person they fought. Batman and Spawn teamed up to fight someone. I won't spoil it for you, pretty much. I won't spoil it for you guys. Just know I liked the fight, or I liked what they did towards the end. So, that's about it. That's all I liked. Now to the things I don't like. A few things made this comic story not work for me. To start, the entire comic was narrated. About 70% was more narration than I would like in my comic book. It is not uncommon for a comic to not have some narration to help the flow of the story, but this comic is of two epic comic icons, Batman and Spawn. You would think Todd would give us enough dialogue between the two. Instead, he used narration to further the story of the two characters, which is weird because the artist and the inker both did a great job capturing the scenes. Secondly, dialogue is another problem for me. They spent most of the little dialogue between Spawn and Batman arguing with each other. In one panel, you have Spawn telling Batman he would not last a day in his world because of the lack of his powers. Batman retorts that he has survived because he uses his brain instead of powers. Instead of the two meeting on common ground in the story, the dialogue was spent on comparing and contrasting the two. I think this could have been a great time for Todd to explain how Spawn knows of this world and if he knew about other superheroes like Superman. Or he could have used Batman intelligence to say he had hint of the world Spawn came from. But instead, to keep the two in the dark, he chose to make them both unaware of what was happening. Which also explains my third reason why this was not a great comic. Another thing that I did not like about this story was that everything felt forced. There's a small scene in the comic when Spawn loses his powers and Batman gets a small window to fight back. But in mere seconds, Spawn gets his powers back, and then he explains he had a dead zone. So the dead zone is what causes Spawn to lose his powers. As a fan of Batman, I think that could have been better if they would have let the two know about each other, pretty much just giving Batman more intel, or giving Spawn and Batman intel about each other. This would have changed how the fight would have been between them two. Because of the knowledge they both would have had, this fight could have gone on just a little longer. But again, things felt forced. Things were pushed just to tell a story. Throughout the story, there has been many times where I would feel like the scenario was forced and rushed. Since it is a one-shot, the story ends as fast as it starts. The dead zone became a problem for Spawn in small portions of the entire book, but quickly forgotten later. If this would have been a miniseries or a 7-issue series like Dark Crisis, I think the story would have been a lot better, because of the amount of room Todd would have to tell a story. You can tell this needed to be more than a one-shot. Multiple issues would have helped flush some of the moments from the story. The narration would have been cut down a lot more. The dialogue could have more characteristic of Spawn and Batman. If you think about it, these two characters are almost the same. So it is a bit weird that they are out of character in this story. Spawn could have been more intel on Batman. Batman could have had more intel on Spawn. And if you think about it, they're both tactical type of characters. We get a glimpse of that maybe towards the end of the comic. And like I said earlier, that's the part that I like. So a rating I would give this comic is a 2. I would say give it a read, but I would say there are better comics to read. Invincible Iron Man #1 is out. That's a pretty good read so far. Even though you can see Riri Williams is about to get a big boost in this story. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have a great storyline right now. The Armageddon games are only on issue 3, so you can pick it up and go. Anyway, thanks again for watching a guy talk about a hobby he loves to do. Until next time, I am Lamar, and have a great day.